New Bruce Lee motivational canvases at shop.motiversity.com.
So it's one of the most important messages I have for entrepreneurs is that you should have gold and you should have silver and real estate. So you have to understand tax. You see, this is all over the world, very little difference. These guys pay 40% of their money in taxes. So they make $1,000, they're going to spend $400 in taxes. These guys that make $1,000, they're going to pay 60% in tax. So our schools are teaching entrepreneurship, but they're not teaching them tax. Okay? And because they're focusing on income. Over here, it's 20% in tax. So they make $1,000, only $200 goes to tax, and these guys, 0%. So the reason financial education isn't working in our school systems is they're teaching financial education for these people and these people, but to really become rich, you have to focus on this side here. And that's the difference between Rich Dad and the financial and what they're teaching in school right now. I'd rather be on this side. This side is a lot harder, but in the long run, it's more fun for me. On this side here, it's harder, but you're paying tax constantly. So these guys here are saying tax to rich. Well, these guys don't pay taxes. Because I understand money, that, quantitative counterfeiting and zero interest rates, I don't trust the dollar. So for most of my life, I've saved gold and silver. See, they watch the stock market, they don't watch the debt. And the repo market, the repurchase market, is one of the biggest markets in the world. And the Fed is bailing that one out now. So the average American is watching the stock market, but not what's really going on. The most obsolete idea is go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, and invest for the long term in the stock market. See, why would you save money when they're printing trillions of dollars? The gap between the 1% and 99% is massive. You see, it's not just money. You have to step back and look at the bigger picture.
So what do you do?
In every one of us is a poor person. There's still a poor person inside me. There's also a middle class person, and the middle class persons want security. They want that steady paycheck. And there's a rich person. And they're all inside of us, except that it's not taught. You're taught to go to school, get a job, and get a paycheck. You're not taught to how to get rich. If you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, my rich dad refused to pay me. He said the paycheck was one of the most damaging things you could take in your life. He says the moment you take a paycheck, you're an employee, and that's the mindset. So my rich dad never paid me. He drove my poor dad, government employee, nuts. You gotta pay people, you gotta pay people. And Rich Dad was not saying that the paycheck was bad. He says he didn't want to be a slave to money. So as an entrepreneur, if Rich Dad folded, I just start another company. I don't need a paycheck. I don't need anybody to take care of me. If my government doesn't like me, I move to another country because they need entrepreneurs there. So the entrepreneur is not so much the business. The entrepreneur is really the mindset and the skill sets and the different set of rules. You see, small business does not operate in the same rules as big business. Entrepreneur is a mindset first, a skill set, and rules. And depending upon whether you're an employee or a small business, the rules are different. The mindsets are different, the skill sets are different.
Do the rich people cringe and say, don't tell them that, Robert?
Yes. Don't tell people what you know. Right. Keep them poor. So my father was the head of education, PhD, all that stuff. I go home and ask him, said, why don't we learn about money in school? And he looked at me and says, because the government doesn't let us teach that subject. The government tells us what we can teach and what we can't teach. And I thought that was strange. And I said, but aren't we going to school to learn about money? He says, no, your job is to get a job. I said, but you get a job to earn money. He goes, no, You're supposed to just get a job. I went, no. Isn't the purpose of a job to earn money? He goes, you're correct. I said, so why don't I just learn about money? I can skip the job part, And he got flustered and he said, if you want to learn about money, why don't you ask your best friend's father about money? And I said, why? That's Mike. So I asked him. He says, because Mike's father is an entrepreneur. And I said, what are you? He says, I'm an employee. I'm a government employee. And I went, oh, what's the difference? He says, the difference is an entrepreneur must know about money, or they're no longer entrepreneurs. And he says an employee doesn't have to know anything about money because the government will take care of them, the company will take care of them. So I'm all confused. But I took my dad's advice and I trundled over to Mike's father's office and knocked on his door and I said, hey, I'm here, 9 years old. Teach me about money. He says, beat it, kid, But that's where the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad started. And finally, through persistence, my rich dad started teaching me about money on one condition. And that condition was he would never pay me. He says, the moment I pay you, you think like an employee. He says, that's the trap. Entrepreneurs work for free. And now I'm 9 years old, my head's cracking in half. He says, you never want a paycheck. You understand that, kid? I said, okay, I got it. And he says, well, how do I make money? He says, that's what entrepreneurs figure out. It's like, so how do I learn about money? So he would just break out a Monopoly game board. So I would work for free. I'd pick up cigarette butts and he had hotels and restaurants and I would clean and do menial tasks. And as I got older, I started getting into office work and marketing and accounting, and I was an apprentice basically, but I always worked for free. And he would teach me about money, but the way he taught me about money was playing Monopoly. And finally one day I got upset. I said, well, when are you going to teach me about money? He says, what do you think we're doing? And we're playing Monopoly. He goes, no. What do you think we're doing? We're playing Monopoly. He says, what do you think we're doing? So I don't know. I'm teaching you about money. And then that's when, you have one greenhouse. He says, there's many formulas for great success in money. There's thousands of them, but one of the best ones is found on the game of Monopoly. It still is today. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. I said, what? He says, one of the greatest ways to acquire great wealth is playing Monopoly in real life. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Is that all there is? He goes, that's it. And he says, what do you think I'm doing? And I went, I don't know. So then he took me out and he showed me his greenhouses. And 10 years later, when I was 19, I was now in school in New York, and I come back to Hawaii, and Rich Dad had bought the biggest piece of land smack dab in the middle of Waikiki Beach. And when you go to Waikiki Beach today, you'll see the Hyatt Regency Hotel. That was his hotel.
Just like the game of Monopoly.
Just like the game of Monopoly.
Acquired assets and they became bigger assets.
He just kept what's called an assemblage because that property wasn't that big at that time. So he had to buy out all the small guys. Because Waikiki was a little dirt water little town. So he'd buy out this shop owner and buy that shop owner. And it took him a while, but he finally assembled this large piece of property. And then he and Hyatt put up this giant hotel. And it just sold for $800 million. So that's how I learned about money. The reason I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad was because I knew this time was coming. And we have, as a world, have never been here before. And so is it a spooky time? Damn yeah, it is probably the most dangerous time ever. There's nothing to compare it to because there's never been a world economy before. For example, 100 years ago, if there was a stock market crash in England, it didn't affect anybody. But now the US market goes down, the world goes down. So plus with social media and all this we're doing now, and so we've never been here before. And I'm excited about it because I make more money in crashes than I do when they go up. So, but for the average person, they'll get wiped out. I'm afraid at the worst, I hope I'm wrong, but I think we're heading for a global depression.
How does this play out for the average worker, Robert, for the small business owner? I mean, what does the next 3 months look like? Because it doesn't look pretty. I mean, people are already being laid off, made redundant. There's no cash flow in most of these businesses. How does that play out?
Well, let me give one more stat just to give you the size of it, okay? The national debt for World War II was $25 billion. Every day today, they're printing $125 billion. Every single day, that's like 5 World War IIs per day. They're printing so much money to keep this think of a hot air balloon with a tear in it. And they're doing desperately trying to fix this tear, but no matter how hard they try, the tear has gone beyond, it's coming down. So in financial terms, it's called our debt to GDP has now gone from 60 to 90 to 105, it's going to 120. We're bankrupt. And they're going to print more and more money, which means savers are losers, just as I predicted. Your money is going to be worthless in a few years. Wow. So my message is the same as some of your other guests. This is metamorphosis time. Financial education, in Rich Dad's terms, is really financial transformation. And the definition of metamorphosis is very important. Metamorphosis, the definition is the evolution or the transformation from an immature form to an adult form. An immature form to an adult form. Metamorphosis is the same as a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. And Fuller always said there's nothing to predict a butterfly inside a caterpillar. So everybody listening right now, if you're struggling financially, just think of yourself as a little caterpillar. And this crisis is your cocoon. The question is, what do you emerge as? Do you emerge as a victim? You know, the world did it to me, and the capitalists are crook, and the rich are bastards, and all this stuff? Or do you say, oh, this is the best thing that ever happened to me? The same as my health. I am ground zero for the coronavirus. All that does is inspire me to get healthier. You're either going to get healthier and wealthier, or you're going to go bust. Your choice. It sits between your ears, your heart, your body, your mind, your spirit, your attitude. This could be the best thing that ever happened to you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you turn on to a butterfly, or somebody will step on you like a little worm. It's your choice.
If you could say one thing to somebody who's never been an entrepreneur and they're thinking about making the leap of faith into becoming an entrepreneur, what could you tell them?
Well, I'll just tell them the same thing that happened to me. You know, my last paycheck, I still remember it clearly. It was one of the worst and the best days of my life. And I was in Puerto Rico. I was working for Xerox, and my boss gave me my last, it wasn't a paycheck, it was a bonus check. I think it was about $30,000 taxable. It's the only problem with that. So I got this check and I went, holy mackerel. You know what I mean? So I was excited, but I was also disturbed. And so this other guy comes up to me, his name was John, and John says to me, he says, you're gonna be back. I said, why? He says, because you're gonna fail. I looked at him and said, look, few expletive words, because that's what he did. He left Xerox, failed, and he came back. And I said, look, you failed and you came back, but I'm gonna fail and I'm never coming back. And that's the attitude. Do you know what I mean? If you say, well, if I fail, I'll go back to mommy and daddy, then that's what you'll do. So if you fail, that's when I became an entrepreneur, because I had no money. I had no money for years. You know, I didn't have a paycheck. But that's what my rich dad encouraged me to do. He says, when you don't have this paycheck, you get hungrier, smarter, and it's a test of your character. Will you become a crook? Will you become dishonest? Will you cheat and steal? Or will you become a better human being? So really, that's the benefit of becoming an entrepreneur, is you really find out who you are when you don't have anything. So you always have to look at the big picture. Too many people look at, well, what's going to happen to me? When you look at the big picture, you're also going to know that when something bad happens, something good's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But you got to prepare for whatever is coming. If you think next 20 years will be like the last 20 years, mm-hmm. you're going to get creamed. You know, when you and I go to the supermarket and we buy a carton of milk, we always check for the expiration date. But most people do not check for the expiration date on their brains. Instead of get out of debt, I get into debt. I just refinanced $300 million in debt. I went from 5% to 2.5% interest. I made a fortune. Every month, more money comes in because my cost of money has gone down. So while some financial experts are saying get out of debt, I'm saying learn how to use debt. See, when I came back from in Vietnam in January 73, the first thing my rich dad said to me was go to school to learn how to invest in real estate. It wasn't real estate, it was how to use debt and taxes. Debt and taxes make the rich richer. Debt and taxes make the poor and middle class poorer. So all the rich guys who are doctors and lawyers or, those guys, they're getting creamed and they don't know why.
Doctors are getting creamed.
Oh yeah, they're making more money, but the take home is less.
Sure.
My doctor just yelled at me, he was happy, he says, oh, guess what, I finally made $1 million. And I said, yeah, this was just 3 weeks ago. And so I said, yeah, well, how much you pay in tax? He says, $750,000 in taxes. So his net was about $400,000. That's not bad. But when I make $1 million, I keep $1 million. And the reason is because I don't make it by working for money. See, if you work for money, you're taxed. So that's why lesson number 1 in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the rich don't work for money. What we do instead is we create businesses as entrepreneurs. We acquire real estate. I don't want to invest in the stock market. Okay? So the reason is because as entrepreneurs, I have more control over my income, how much I make, and how much I pay in taxes. And because I'm an entrepreneur as well as an investor in real estate, I pay 0 tax. So every time I make, let's say, $1 million as an entrepreneur, I immediately invested in real estate and I have a 4-to-1 step up. So I put $1 million in real estate, I get $4 million from the bank. That's why I love banks. But the banks are screwing everybody else, terrible, but it's good for me.
That's why you say when you print, it's good for you, but when you print, it's bad for people that work for money.
Because when you print, savers get creamed and people who work for money get creamed. When they print, debtors get rich. You see, debt and taxes make the rich richer, and debt and taxes make the poor middle class poorer. When we have obsolete ideas, we get obsolete results. So what's happening for most people, the idea of going to school, getting a job, working hard, saving money, getting out of debt, buying your house because it's an asset, and investing for the long term, is obsolete. The world has changed. The world changed in 1971 when President Nixon took us off the gold standard and money became debt.
What if we get rid of school? Then what would happen? Would it be better if we had no educational system at all?
No, I'm saying education is more important before. It's just obsolete. There's Moore's Law which states information doubles every 18 months. In other words, everything's obsolete 18 months. So, and this is just a recent phenomenon. So when you come out of school, you're already obsolete. And that's why I'm the old guy, I meet my friends who went to Harvard. I went to Harvard. I said, yeah, that was how long, 50 years ago? Today, the banks are charging you interest to save money. In other words, banks don't want your money because they printed too much of it. And that's why there's this bubbles in stocks and bubbles in real estate and all this. People are dumping the cash because, as I said in here, savers are losers and cash is trash. And yet people are, well, I want a high-paying job. Well, that's an obsolete idea. Get out of debt is an obsolete idea. You should learn how to get into debt, how to use debt to get rich, and they'll never teach you about taxes. The reason the 1% is way up here and the 99% are going this way is because when you print money, 2 things happen: inflation and taxes. It's crushing them. And any entrepreneur thinks, I'm just going to make money, I'm going to start a business and make a lot of money because of what we talk about. They really have got to smell the roses, man. That's not what the real entrepreneurs are doing. Most entrepreneurs, there's 28 million small business owners in America. 24 million are what are one-person entrepreneurs. They're called non-employee entrepreneurs. So and that's what happens is when people don't really understand what an entrepreneur does. So most big people are self-employed, but they're not really entrepreneurs. The self-employed pay the highest taxes of all, and nobody tells them that. Yeah, it's also called the entrepreneurial spirit, but what we were actually talking about was there's no such thing as a bad economy. You know, there's external, you and I, we all have an external economy, but we also have an internal economy. And the willpower is to change our internal economy. So for me, I can see the good and I can see the bad. I don't really give a damn because I'm going to be rich anyway. But a poor person with a poor personal economy, all they're going to see is a bad economy because they don't know how to make money in any economy. And a middle class person, they have a middle class economy. You know, what they want is a nice house and a steady paycheck and the job and the car. And so when you take their job away, to them, that's disaster. Well, since an entrepreneur doesn't have a job anyway, it's no big deal. So all I'm saying to people, and it's what Bucky Fuller taught me, is always two sides, you know what I mean? Unity is plural, at minimum two. So if you think the economy is bad, it's because your economy is bad. If you think that steady, employment is important, then you'll see an economy without jobs. Your economy versus the external economy.
What you control versus what you can't control.
I can control. Yeah, it's called an internal focus versus an external focus. So the real entrepreneur has an internal focus that if they fall down, they say, "Oh, this is good, because I'm going to go up higher." You know, the average person will fall down and say, "Oh, I'm going to take some Prozac," or somebody has a mistake. So, "Oh, the mistakes don't matter." Well, mistakes matter. It means you didn't know something. But a real entrepreneur, whether they fall down, they always can go up. They can stand back up and go higher. That no matter what happens to them, they get stronger and better and smarter and happier. But a person with a weak internal mindset is that they're so afraid of what happens, it generally happens. Like, people who are afraid of losing their jobs, they generally lose their jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so everything comes through you.
Yeah, so the entrepreneur first job is to control inside here, not outside there. The moment you take that paycheck, you're an employee. You've got to be stronger than that. It's about inside control. I've had financial crashes. I've had people stab me in the back, but they're all good because I grow from it. That's spirituality. Right. People who are afraid of making mistakes, like they teach in school, they don't ever grow. Because spirituality is there's good and there's bad, there's right and there's wrong, there's up and there's down. Most people only want to be right, they only want to be positive. Well, you can't have that, that's not reality. Well, I wasn't poor by most people's standards, but I came from a family with a poor attitude, if you know what I mean. Because rich, poor, middle class, poverty starts with a fundamental attitude. Poverty is passed on. It's taught in your families. And middle class is taught in families. And so the people right now who are sitting at home, who are struggling financially or worried about money or unhappy, they may be making a lot of money, but unhappy with what they're doing, it was probably taught to you. Your superego was taught, get a job, work hard, or you'll never be rich, or the rich are evil, or whatever. The school system will never teach you about money. The school system was designed to teach you to be an employee, which is important, or a doctor or a lawyer, a specialist, but never about money. And what most people lack is real business knowledge, like accounting, like debt, like taxes. You got to know that stuff, but they don't teach it in school to anybody. So, and then when people ask me, how did your rich dad learn this when your poor dad, a PhD, didn't? And the answer is very simply, my rich dad, who's my best friend's father, his father died when he was 13. So rich dad had this family business at 13 to run. So he had to drop out of school, which was his blessing. There's blessings, and sometimes a blessing doesn't look like a blessing, but it turned out to be a blessing. And then his teachers became his bookkeeper, his accountant, his attorney, his banker, his real estate agents. So he has what I call real teachers, not these fake teachers in school. You see, most teachers in school, they're out of ethics. They teach subjects they themselves don't practice. I asked the teacher, I said, I'm in my third year of calculus now. It was called strength of materials. I said, am I ever going to use this stuff? He goes, no. said, why do you teach it? He says, because I get paid. I said, do you ever use it? He goes, no. And that's why, you have to, in life, one of the things I suggest to people, you got to find a real teacher versus a fake teacher. And a fake teacher is somebody who doesn't do what they teach. And a real teacher is doing what they teach every day. So my accountants, my attorneys, they're in it every single day. That's how I learn, because every day I'm solving problems in my business. So I have accountants and attorneys and bankers and all these people on speed dial because I'm solving problems with my team.
I see you giving this knowledge out, and do the rich people cringe and say, don't tell them that, Rob?
Yes. Don't tell people what you know. Right. Keep them poor. But, unfortunately, the poor, as was in the Bible, I'm not real religious, the poor will always be amongst us because it starts up here.
Right, it's that fear mentality.
It's in their words, and the words become flesh. Again, I'm not really religious. I flunked out of Sunday school also. But when they say I can't afford it or I can't do that, they go down. They become what they say. My PhD dad, he says, what do you think I am, made of money? I can't afford that. And my rich dad would say, that's why he's poor. Poor people say, I can't afford it, I can't do that, I don't have time. Because this is an escape. It's an escape, you know what I mean? It's easy to say, I can't afford it.
And your rich dad used to say what instead of, I can't afford it?
How can I afford it? How can I do that? What would it take, or why should I do that? He says that a question opens the mind, a statement closes the mind. So when you say, I can't afford it, your mind shuts down, and you become what you say. Rugby is a team sport, but so is soccer. The rules are different. And other people are golfers. They play by themselves. And so everybody's different. So my game financially is business, number one. Second is real estate. So what I say to young people is, you find your game. So it's one of the most important messages I have for entrepreneurs is that you should have gold and you should have silver and real estate.
Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, his goal in life is to showcase to people how important financial education is, and offers a variety of resources to share his findings on how normal people like you and me can get rich. In this video, we will cover 4 extremely important lessons that Robert learned to get rich.
Failure should inspire you to get smarter. And unfortunately, our school system says if you fail, you're stupid. That is not true. We learn from our mistakes. Mistakes are opportunities to get smarter, be humble, and take a look at something. And that's the problem with most people today as they leave school. Most of them haven't really learned much because I don't remember my 3rd year of calculus. I have no idea what I learned there, but I did learn that I failed. And when I failed, I was going to be, this is in the 60s, I was going to get sent straight to Vietnam. So failure was a very painful subject. I also failed English twice in high school, and today I'm known as a writer. But so failure is the key to success, except in school.
Lesson 1. Failure doesn't mean you're failing. One thing that is often misunderstood about failure is that it is the end all be all of any situation. Whether it be a failed business, failed project, or a failed venture, many entrepreneurs believe that this means this is the end. In fact, what we may not realize about failure is that it is merely showcasing to you what didn't work and is providing a lesson to you that you can take with you on future ventures. Failure doesn't mean you're failing. It simply means you have found one of the ways that doesn't work and can move on to the next.
You have to understand tax. You see, this is all over the world, very little difference. These guys pay 40% of their money in taxes. So they make $1,000, they're going to spend $400 in taxes. These guys that make $1,000, they're going to pay 60% in tax. So our schools are teaching entrepreneurship, but they're not teaching them tax. Okay? And because they're focusing on income. Over here, it's 20% in tax. So they make $1,000, only $200 goes to tax, and these guys, 0%. So the reason financial education isn't working in our school systems is they're teaching financial education for these people and these people, but to really become rich, you have to focus on this side here. And that's the difference between Rich Dad and the financial and what they're teaching in school right now. I'd rather be on this side. This side is a lot harder, but in the long run, it's more fun for me. On this side here, it's harder, but you're paying tax constantly. So these guys here are saying tax to rich. Well, these guys don't pay taxes. And as strange as that may seem, and I'm talking about legally, this is all over the world. In Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I wrote about Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's. And he was teaching at the University of Texas, the MBA program. And Ray asked, and most of the MBAs are going to come out here. So Ray Kroc asked him, he says, what business is McDonald's in? And everybody yelled and said, no, we know you're in hamburgers. And Ray says, no, we're not, McDonald's is not hamburgers. McDonald's is in the business of real estate over here. So you have McDonald's here, and the money McDonald's makes buys the real estate. And that is my formula. This is Rich Dad, I own real estate. I don't hang out here. I'm glad you guys are here, right? And we do our best to make sure you're educated and you have your own businesses and things like this here. But really the formula I follow personally is McDonald's. We have an education company that buys real estate, which means we make a lot of money, pay zero taxes, legally.
Lesson 2. Taxes aren't as complicated as you think. Let's be honest here. No one likes paying their taxes, and many people get frustrated on why certain companies and people who are enjoying the rich life don't pay taxes. It's simply because there are many different loopholes that they are privy to that many common folk are not. In his story about his rich dad, Robert often speaks about how his rich dad provided some excellent advice when it comes to taxes. Do some research, and you'll find that there may be ways that you can also benefit from these loopholes.
In school, they compensate for risk by telling you to memorize the right answer. So in other words, these kids the young people like you leave school thinking, oh, if I know the right answers, then there's no risk. And it drives old guys like me crazy. Because everybody's talking about millennials. What's wrong with them? You know, millennials are the most highly educated generation in history. They have the cell phone. They didn't get educated in school. They got educated on social media, on the cell phones. They know all the answers, but they're afraid of doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest complaint about my generation is millennials know all the answers, but they can't do anything. And the reason they can't do anything is because you might hurt somebody's feelings, you might make a mistake, you know, and that just keeps you guys just trapped in this little box here.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I think millennial money is such an important point here, because if you're going to come into my world, old guy's world, or the information age, you've really got to understand what is risky and what is not risky. And in my world, if you play it safe, that makes you stupid. Because if you don't take risks, you don't get smarter. Number one schools do is they punish you for making mistakes. Are people punished for making mistakes here?
No, it's encouraged. We want you to.
And then as long as you learn from them.
Yep, fail hard, fail fast, learn and move on.
What happens if you made a mistake and you didn't tell everybody?
If I don't tell anybody, well then that doesn't let the team grow from my own mistake.
Now what happens if you cover it up?
Then I'm punished if I cover it up.
Yeah, you probably got fired for that.
Yeah.
You see, the worst thing that happens in an organization like this is when you make a mistake, you cover it up. Mm-hmm. That's the worst thing. Yeah. But that's what they teach you in school.
Lesson 3. Learn to take risks. Taking risks is one of the most terrifying things you can do. It can seem daunting at first, but by being able to take the risk in life, it allows you to grow not only as a business owner, but also as a person as well. If you are able to afford to take a risk, do it.
I think the biggest secret of my success is I have all, you know, we all have these. We all have some degree of physical things we do. Emotionally, I'm a basket case a lot of the time, you know. I get upset, I get angry, I get sad, I get my feelings hurt. And I'm always, this is good, this is bad, this is, you know, you watch politics, it's all good and bad, it's a bunch of BS. But what keeps me going is this, and it's spiritual, is how can I serve others?
Lesson 4. Find out ways you can serve others. Most people don't realize that by being able to give back to your community, whether it be time or money invested in sports teams, school events, local plays, or whatever suits your fancy. It allows you to become ingrained in the community and build a stronger connection with your community and customers.
See, they watch the stock market, they don't watch the debt. And the repo market, the repurchase market, is one of the biggest markets in the world. And the Fed is bailing that one out now. So the average American is watching the stock market, but not what's really going on. In school is BS. It's watered down. It's not appropriate for the real world.
The rules of money are changing fast. The wealthy are shifting their game plans, and those who cling to the old ways risk being left behind. But one man has always stayed ahead of the curve: Robert Kiyosaki. With 2025 on the horizon, we are sharing his powerful strategies to break free from financial struggles and build lasting wealth.
My first investment was a gold coin in Hong Kong. I bought a Krugerrand. I was flying off an aircraft carrier in Vietnam, and I went to Hong Kong and I bought a gold Krugerrand. The date was 1972. The reason the date's important is because in 1972 it was illegal for Americans to own gold. So I had to smuggle that little puppy into America. I put it in my pocket, came off the ship, and nobody checked, But I felt like a criminal as I smuggled this gold coin because it was illegal for Americans to own gold after 1933 under Roosevelt. But that gold coin today is worth almost $2,000.
The one gold coin?
Yeah, and I still have it. So
what'd you pay for it?
$50.
$50 to $2,000. 1972?
Yeah, it just sat there. So I have and so I never, because I understand money, that quantitative counterfeiting and zero interest rates, I don't trust the dollar. So for most of my life, I've saved gold and silver, and not ETFs. I stay completely out of, I know that's your world, but my world is completely into the hard assets. So I have millions in gold coins and silver coins. I just kept saving it because I don't trust the dollar. So everybody can buy a silver coin today for $20. A silver eagle is $20. But how many people will go to a coin shop and buy it? Probably none. Less than 1% of Americans own precious metals. And silver today is 50% below its all-time high. So silver is the biggest bargain sitting in the market as we speak today. It's about $20. It should go to 50. So at $20, and I tell my friends, I go, think about it. That's the problem. So everybody can afford $20. Kids can afford $20. The thing is, people won't do it, and you know that too. When you deal with people, most people are pretty sedentary. They want to do the same old thing.
Sure.
I'm happy. Nothing's going to happen. Oh, you're just trying to scare me.
When it comes to making the first move on creating another income stream, it can be overwhelming. As Robert says here, the biggest challenge for most people when it comes to creating wealth is taking the first step there. This is the time to do your research and find out what kind of investments are best for you and your lifestyle. Do you want to go more of the hard assets route and invest in precious metals and real estate? Or would you rather go into crypto and stocks? By doing your research and making an informed decision on where to get started, you are already ahead of the game.
I'm not telling you what to buy, I'm just telling you how to think. So Nassim Taleb has a book called Anti-Fragile, which is good.
Excellent read.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a smart guy.
Oh, yeah.
But he writes about, how we have in school today, we're raising snowflakes. You have to have safe rooms. You can't trigger, you can't say anything, So we're raising a bunch of snowflakes. And he says the guy that's going to survive is somebody who's not fragile, anti-fragile. So what he says is this: whatever doesn't kill you will make you stronger. So he says when you go to the gym and you pump weights, you push 100 pounds. That means the next time you push, you might go 105. So bad times will make the strong stronger. And bad times will make the snowflakes
Weaker.
So the thing is, as my Mexican friends would say, get some cojones, get some balls out there and get ready for whatever's coming. Don't run and hide and say, oh, Trump should have saved me or Bernie's going to save me. So the big thing is this anti-fragile is good, but another thing they should know is the bigger something gets, i.e. our banks, the more fragile.
An important thing to know when it comes to the get rich and thrive lifestyle is to understand you aren't going to be handed things on a silver platter. Life just doesn't work that way. You need to be prepared for the hardships, the frustration, and the failures. This isn't for the faint of heart. If you are up for the challenge of being able to handle hardship before reaping the benefits of your investments, then you are well on your way to becoming rich in 2025.
So when I came back from in Vietnam in January of 73, the first thing my rich dad said to me was go to school to learn how to invest in real estate. It wasn't real estate, it was how to use debt and taxes. Debt and taxes make the rich richer. Debt and taxes make the poor and middle class poor. So all the rich guys who are doctors and lawyers or, those guys, they're getting creamed. They don't know why.
Doctors are getting creamed.
Oh yeah, they're making more money, but the take home is less.
Sure.
My doctor just yelled at me, he was happy, he says, oh, guess what, I finally made $1 million. And I said, yeah, this was just 3 weeks ago. And so I said, yeah, well, how much you pay in tax? This is 2014. He says, $750,000 in taxes. So his net was about $400,000. That's not bad. But when I make $1 million, I keep $1 million. And the reason is because I don't make it by working for money. See, if you work for money, you're taxed. So that's why lesson number 1 in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the rich don't work for money. What we do instead is we create businesses as entrepreneurs. We acquire real estate. I don't invest in the stock market. Okay? So the reason is because as entrepreneurs, I have more control over my income, how much I make, and how much I pay in taxes. And because I'm an entrepreneur as well as an investor in real estate, I pay 0 tax. So every time I make, let's say, $1 million as an entrepreneur, I immediately invested in real estate and I have a 4-to-1 step up. So I put $1 million in real estate, I get $4 million from the bank. That's why I love banks. But the banks are screwing everybody else, terrible, but it's good for me.
That's why you say when you print, it's good for you, but when you print, it's bad for people that work for money.
Because when you print, savers get creamed and people who work for money get creamed. When they print, debtors get rich. You see, debt and taxes make the rich richer, and debt and taxes make the poor middle class poorer. See, when you look at history, anytime a country printed, they corrupted the money supply, the empire collapsed. See, the Romans tried it. And it was called debasing the currency. Debasing means they took a silver coin and they mixed base metals like nickel and copper and those things inside. America started doing the same debasing in 1964. So when you look at our silver coins, in 1963 they were pure, not pure silver, they were silver. And in 1964 you go, oh, what's that little copper tinge there? That's debasing. So throughout history, anytime a government has debased or printed their money, the economy eventually collapses. So the Romans tried it, Zimbabwe did it, the Germans did it, Milosevic did it, China did it. So every time they print money, history will tell you the same thing.
Robert is a very big advocate for people getting a financial education because it not only helps you get rich, but it better helps you understand how you can get there. And one way you can get rich is by getting into debt and using it to your advantage. While this sounds like the complete opposite thing you'd want to do to get rich, think again. If managed and used correctly, debt can help you reach your financial goals in no time. Margin investing, leverage ETFs, and short selling are a few examples of using debt to increase your assets, which in turn increase your finances.
So the point is, everybody can do something, but you got to figure out what you can do.
As Robert says, everyone can do something to better their financial lives and incomes, whether that be through investing, real estate, or whatever you find works best for you. The biggest thing to remember is that you need to put in the work to make it happen. It's time to get up and get to work in 2025. What was your favorite moment in the video? Who should we learn from next? Let us know in the comments below and make sure to like and subscribe to keep up with our latest videos.
Are you ready to dive into the world of investing but are not sure where to start? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Today, we're unlocking the secrets to successful investing with insights straight from the master himself, Robert Kiyosaki. We will dive into 4 tips from Kiyosaki to help investors get started.
So the reason the rich don't pay taxes is because there's 3 types of income. They'll never teach you this in school. The fake teachers will never. Number 1 there's 3 types of income. Okay, number one type of income is earned income. That's earned income. It's when you work for money. It's earned. So that earned income shows up here. So these are the guys that pay tax. So when all the guys are screaming tax the rich, well, you can't tax them because they don't have jobs.
That's absolutely
It's kind of funny, isn't it? We're going to tax the rich. Oh yeah, good luck, you know. And the second type of income is portfolio income. And portfolio income is from flipping houses, or you buy a stock for like $10, you sell it for $20. That's portfolio income. Okay? I don't do that. Trump doesn't do that. So most guys who are flipping houses and all that, buying stocks and flipping you're getting this type of income. So this income is about 20% today. Some of that here. But the income that the rich work for is called passive income. Passive income is also known as cash flow. That's the name of our game, cash flow. And that income is income that's flowing from here to here. It bypasses taxes.
What some people may not know is that there are different types of incomes you can earn. As Robert explains, the three types are earned income, portfolio income, and passive income. Earned income is the money you make from working a job or running a business. It's your salary, hourly wages, or profits from your own company. Basically, it's the income you earn by trading your time for money. Portfolio income comes from investments like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. When you buy shares in a company and the value goes up, that increase is your portfolio income. It's money your money makes for you by growing over time. Finally, there is passive income. This is the money you earn with little to no ongoing effort. Think rental income from properties, royalties from books or music, or earnings from a business you don't actively manage. It's the ultimate goal for financial freedom. By understanding all three of these incomes, it can help you increase your cash flow and allow you to grow your investments.
And what's happening for most people today is, they follow that age-old mantra, go to school. What do you learn about money in school? Nothing. Get a job. Well, jobs are disappearing. Not only that, is that with artificial intelligence and G5 coming, more jobs are going to get wiped out. Plus, with driverless cars, more jobs are getting wiped out. So why would you go to school to get a job? And then work hard for money, but pay taxes. Taxes are going to keep going up, sports fans. They have to. Somebody's going to pay off this massive mountain of debt stacking up all over the world. And the only way they pay off debt is via taxes. And then they tell you to get out of debt. Oh, God. Debt is money. Please understand me. In 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money became debt. So the rich know how to use debt to get rich. And that's what I do. My friend Donald Trump, I know some of you hate the guy, more power to you, But we use debt as money. And other guys will tell you get out of debt. Well, you choose. The rich use debt to get rich, and the poor and middle class get wiped out because they're in debt. That's because of the lack of financial education. And I tell you to invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. The key word in there is invest for the long term. Why would you invest for the long term when they're printing trillions of dollars and ZIRP, zero interest rate policy, they're paying you nothing for your money?
Why is financial education so important? Well, think of it like this. You wouldn't try to drive a car without learning how, right? The same goes for managing your money. Financial education helps you understand how to make your money work for you, rather than the other way around. With the right knowledge, you can make informed decisions, avoid common financial pitfalls, and create a secure future for yourself and your family. It's all about gaining control and confidence in your financial life. Remember, getting financially educated isn't something you do once and forget about. It's an ongoing process. The more you learn, the more confident you'll become in making smart financial decisions.
The first way you understand risk is you look in the mirror. It's who's looking back at you. You're the risk, not the investment. For example, I invest in a lot of real estate and say, oh, real estate is so risky, so I think I'll buy ETFs. So you play it safe, but you'll learn more by investing in real estate, right? Because you'll make more mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's the difference there. So it's not real estate that's risky, it's you're risky.
Yes, all investments carry some risk, but not all risks are created equal. There are ways to manage and even minimize these risks. Imagine you have all your money in one stock and it suddenly tanks. Scary, right? But if you spread your money across different types of investments, like stocks, bonds, real estate, and mutual funds, you reduce the impact of any single investment's poor performance. Another important thing to understand is that investing is like planting a tree. You don't expect it to grow overnight. Historically, the market has shown to recover from downturns and grow over the long term. So, if you're in it for the long haul, you're likely to see positive returns.
So the reason I say only lazy people use their own money is because it takes much more intelligence to raise capital. And so I've never been able, ever since my rich dad, since a little boy, my rich dad forbade me from ever saying, I can't afford it. He says, figure out how you can afford it. How can you do something? Figure out how you can do something. So over my lifetime, most of the projects I've started, I've never had any money. I like not having money because it forces me to think. I get creative. I have to educate myself. I have to talk to rich guys. How'd you do this? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? And what has happened to me, I just turned 72, I've never needed money.
Investment opportunities can pop up at any time. Whether it's a promising stock, a real estate deal, or a new business venture. Having access to capital means you can seize these opportunities when they arise. Raising capital is also essential for scaling up your investments. If you've started small and seen success, additional funds can help you expand your investment portfolio and increase your potential returns. Some ways you can raise capital is by getting loans, starting a partnership with another person or company, investing some of your personal savings, or even reinvesting your returns. Before making any investment decisions, it's important to do your own research and consider seeking advice from a trained financial professional. We hope you found this video informative and inspiring as you embark on your investing journey. Remember, with the right knowledge and mindset, investing can be a powerful tool for building wealth and securing your financial future. What was your favorite tip from today's video? Make sure to comment below and like and subscribe to the channel to keep up with our latest videos.
The reason I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad was because I knew this time was coming. And we have, as a world, have never been here before. And so is it a spooky time? Damn yeah, it is probably the most dangerous time ever. There's nothing to compare it to because there's never been a world economy before. For example, 100 years ago, if there was a stock market crash in England, it didn't affect anybody. But now the US market goes down, the world goes down. So plus with social media and all this we're doing now, and so we've never been here before. And I'm excited about it because I make more money in crashes than I do when they go up. So, but for the average person, they'll get wiped out. I'm afraid at the worst, I hope I'm wrong, but I think we're heading for a global depression.
How does this play out for the average worker, Robert, for the small business owner? What does the next 3 months look like? Because it doesn't look pretty. People are already being laid off, made redundant. Businesses there's no cash flow in most of these businesses. How does that play out?
Well, let me give one more step just to give you the size of it, okay? The national debt for World War II was $25 billion. Every day today, they're printing $125 billion. Every single day. That's like 5 World War IIs per day. They're printing so much money to keep this, think of a hot air balloon with a tear in it. And they're doing desperately trying to fix this tear, but no matter how hard they try, the tear has gone beyond, it's coming down. So in financial terms, it's called our debt to GDP has now gone from 60 to 90 to 105, it's going to 120. We're bankrupt. And they're going to print more and more money, which means savers are losers, just as I predicted. Your money is going to be worthless in a few years. Wow. So my message is the same as some of your other guests. This is metamorphosis time. Financial education, in Rich Dad's terms, is really financial transformation. And the definition of metamorphosis is very important. Metamorphosis, the definition is the evolution or the transformation from an immature form to an adult form. An immature form to an adult form. Metamorphosis is the same as a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. And Fuller always said there's nothing to predict a butterfly inside a caterpillar. So everybody listening right now, if you're struggling financially, just think of yourself as a little caterpillar. And this crisis is your cocoon. The question is, what do you emerge as? Do you emerge as a victim? You know, the world did that to me, and the capitalists are crook, and the rich are bastards, and all this stuff? Or do you say, oh, this is the best thing that ever happened to me? You're either going to get healthier and wealthier, or you're going to go bust. Your choice. It sits between your ears, your heart, your body, your mind, your spirit, your attitude. This could be the best thing that ever happened to you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you turn out to a butterfly, or somebody will step on you like a little worm. It's your choice. Now, if you're in trouble today, my message is not so kind. This is hard talk, not happy talk. The crisis is in your head. Now, that's the bad news. The good news, you can change the crisis by changing what's inside your head. And so I'm doing, I hate to brag, but I'm doing extremely well financially today, because as I was warning everybody, this crisis was coming. But it would be irresponsible of me to warn people of the crisis and not personally make changes myself. So The good news is the crisis is in your head. The bad news, it's in your head. The most important thing you can have right now is not job security, but meaningful work. So you and I don't need the money, but our work is meaningful. And it's our meaningful work that gets us through the hard times. So the good news is my company is sold out. We cannot keep up with product. The bad news is the supply chain shut down, but that's a good problem. We have tons of cash. I have gold, I have silver. And I do have challenges in the real estate market, but that's going to make me stronger. That's my only attitude I can have. Otherwise, I just cry and say, well, the government should take care of me. I need a bailout, I need a stimulus.
So what can I do? I'm one of them. What do I do? Does it go back to employee, self-employed, business owner, investor? Like, go find a business, go start a business, go reposition yourself career-wise? You know, is there a 1, 2, 3 step process on what I can do to be prepared for it?
I have a friend in Panama. He has an avocado farm. So he's sitting in Panama growing avocados. He says, because people have to eat. Another friend of mine is growing blueberries. But another friend of mine, he moved up to, he was from Seattle, excuse me. He had a big house, his kids all moved out. So he converted the kids' bedrooms into 1-bedroom apartments. So he put a kitchen and he put a toilet inside his little bedrooms. And so he now rents out 4 bedrooms. He's making more money today than ever before because a lot of workers commute to Seattle. So they come in, they check in, they come in on Sunday night, they check out Friday afternoon. It's at a little house, he's making more money. So the point is, everybody can do something, but you got to figure out what you can do. Well, the reason the rich don't work for money is number one expense is tax. See, there's 3 kinds of income: earned, portfolio, passive. So earned income is if I get a job, that's earned income. If I'm a doctor or a programmer, that's earned income because I'm working for it. if I buy, let's say, Apple for $10 and I sell it for 20, that's portfolio income, capital gains.
Yeah.
But passive income, which is cash flow, is never taxed. So it's not, and so these guys are screaming right now in America, tax the rich. I said, good luck. Because most of the guys complaining, they don't know there's three kinds of income. And the rich don't have jobs anyway. They have assets. And so the average schmo out there, poor guy, sent the kid to school, they don't learn this. So that's why in Fake, as you were talking about it, there's a newspaper article about Jared Kushner, and he explains how the Trumps and the Kushners don't pay taxes and make millions of dollars. And the reporter couldn't understand him because our schools will never teach you that three types of income.
And they judged him and say they're wrong and it's cheating. And we see that over and over again. Amazon not paying taxes. What do you say to people when they come up to you and say, Robert, it's not fair. It's not fair they're not paying taxes.
Well, there's always three sides to a coin, heads, tails, and the edge. So which side of the coin are you on? From my side, it's fair. But this is the difference. Everybody can do the same thing I do because the tax laws are for everybody. We don't say, well, the tax law is only for the rich. No, the tax laws are for everybody to use if you have the right financial education. And the reason I'm an advocate of financial education, without that education, you have to pay taxes. You see, very few people will buy what I do, make $1 million and pay zero tax. That takes, and my rich dad taught me that playing Monopoly. That's how it started, 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Or the McDonald's formula, I write about it here. McDonald's, Ray Kroc.
Yeah.
McDonald's is in the real estate business, so they sell hamburgers, but they buy real estate, so they pay no taxes. This guy Bezos, well, he's $16 billion. How much tax did they pay on that $16 billion? Zero.
And that's all legal. Anyone can do it.
Everybody can do it.
But most people lack the education.
Correct.
So Jared learned about money when he was a kid by
Correct.
watching his father, by watching these people invest in real estate, and said, wow, not only do you get to make the money, you get to keep the money. That's a big problem a lot of people don't understand. Look how much money I made, but how much did you keep? Because that could be half.
How much tax did you pay?
Right, what tax did you pay? And so you always say, this is the law. The law is true for every citizen. You can do it, but most people just don't do it. Sometimes, like you said, they don't have the education, because you need to have a plan if you're gonna go do risky things.
Well, it's not risky. To me, what's risky is having a job and paying taxes and saving money because they're printing it. That's the worst thing of all. And that's why there's fake money, fake teachers, because the teachers they don't know it.
Right.
And fake assets, because Wall Street or the City of London or Lehman Brothers or Goldman and all, they're not going to tell you this.